Take my hand and join us in the world we'll live. We'll live as one.
Unbelievable. I had never heard that version.
It's just the best version.
It just takes you there.
Yeah.
Live, too.
You know, there's something that Paul Hawken, who is also one of the authors of some of the essays in this book, Imagine, said, which I think is so true. He says that none of us want individually what we're creating collectively. And I think it's really true, you know, that with all of the things that are going on with racism, sexism, conflicts, and all of the things with the environment and everything, I mean, none of us really want any of that individually. There's something that he wrote here that I want to share with us also. He's talking about the sustainable movement that has come out in the most recent years, and he says these groups believe that self-sufficiency is a human right. They imagine a future where the means to kill people is not a business but a crime, where families do not starve, where fathers can work, where children are never sold, where women cannot be impoverished because they choose to be mothers. They believe that water and air belong to us all, not just to the rich. They believe that seeds and life itself cannot be owned or patented by corporations. They believe that nature is the basis of true prosperity and must be honored. This shared understanding is arising spontaneously from different economic sectors, cultures, regions, and cohorts, and it is growing and spreading without exception throughout this country and worldwide. So what Paul Hawken also did, which I thought was really amazing, was he did a study, and he found out that actually at this point, and I know it's well over this number at this point, but there are over 2 million organizations on this planet right now who are doing something for good. So I like to remind us of that, because sometimes we have a feeling that you know, what in the hell? You know, what are we going to do? What's going to happen? And again, the power of one. Like I always want to talk about, that we do have that power to do something very small maybe, but we can do it, you know. And so, like you say, with this part that you had in this show, and having that one gentleman come up to you, and imagine, I love that word. We'll just use it all the time for the next 10 minutes.
There's no patent on that.
Exactly. Yeah. Imagine that he is one of many. You know, he happens to come to your show, but there are so many, I'm sure, who are so inspired by that. Yes,
and also
and by you.
I not to belabor my role in this series, but the episode I really had a real good impact with, I believe, in all of us in that show, was A Taste of Armageddon.
Oh gosh,
and we're talking about Syria right now.
Yes.
Okay, and Armageddon,
yes,
with the biblical knowledge some people know here.
Yes.
That, you know. Anyway, we're not going to go into Armageddon, but what it is two planets that, this is the essence of the episode, have been warring for 500 years, and they've come to the point where destruction does not work anymore because they've blown up everything, and so now they've built everything back up, and it's just a board game. Mm-hmm. And right. We won over you, and you won, and so your 5,000 people have to walk into the destruction chambers, and they have to just, and we come on the planet, near the planet, and we just understand that they're controlling our ship. All of a sudden, they're very fearful of anybody. That episode, to write that in 1967, mm-hmm. and that's Gene Kuhn and Gene Roddenberry, and to bring that up when the Vietnam War was just beginning, and we didn't know what was going to happen with China,
right.
and it could have been a big thing. That was an amazing episode.
Well, what is really...
And you saw it the other night.
Yes, and what is really so important about that is, is that it's shocking to me that we're still doing this archaic, draconian process. I mean, when I was a young girl, I saw the 2001 Space Odyssey, and honestly, I figured by this time, not only would we not be wearing jeans, we'd be wearing, like, you know, George and Judy Jetson clothes. Yes. I mean, I'm so surprised we're still, like, you know, wearing clothes that we wore
Jetsons,
in 1890s.
Jetsons.
But that we actually are taking our beautiful humanity and using us all as fodder. Like, why isn't it a chess game? One thing that I do appreciate, and I wish my uncle was around right now to be helping us with Syria, but my uncle Abe Chayes was very, well, he worked in the State Department. He was very, very close with Jack Kennedy and was extremely instrumental with the Cuban Missile Crisis, and was, along with my Aunt Tony, was very, very instrumental in conflict resolution in a peaceful way, and what actually boycotts, sanctions, all these different aspects of war ultimately mean, and how to police people and all of that. I mean, they were very, very powerful in that, and World have written a lot of books about it. But at that time, they, well, specifically my uncle Abe Chayes, shifted us away, and of course it was like it is now, a very, very delicate, difficult chess game, but not chess game with insurmountable possibilities and consequences possibly, but to shift that so that everybody quietly put their guns down, put their war toys or war elements down. And I think about Syria now and the fact that this has gone on. I can barely.
I personally was involved in the Cuban Missile Crisis. I was in the Air Force for 5 years, and I was stationed in San Antonio, Texas. Just an anecdote on that particular moment. DEFCON 3, I think, is where you're prepared to go to war. And I was packed, ready to go. We were going to be the first ones into Cuba, as they called it.
My goodness.
It was 1962. I'll never forget this. I was a 19-year-old kid. And we were watching the television. We were watching Khrushchev, and then we were watching Kennedy. And we had our backpacks on. And my bunk had been made. We were standing there. And they said, you're going to go out. The bus is going to take you to the planes. The planes are going to take you down to Tyndall Air Force Base, Florida, and then you're going to be launched out of Florida. And this was like within 2 hours.
Right.
We were leaving.
Yes.
I remember it because I had all my stuff on my bunk.
Yes.
You'll be back, they kept saying. And so I'm just getting a chill up my body because I never thought about that moment. And that's when we were about to go to war, and cooler heads prevailed.
Yes,
both
did.
in the Russian side and our side, thank God.
Yes.
And it stopped.
It just gives me the chills.
But that's just something I was personally involved in. I had forgotten about it. It was 50 years ago, 50 whatever. And I thought, oh my God, I was there. We were going to go. All us young kids. I was only 19. Everybody was 18, 19.
And it was that, oh my God, isn't this amazing? We're both sitting here talking about it, and my uncle and you, and all of that all together.
There was some tie in there.
Oh, yes. And, of course, that was, the movie came out some years ago, 13 Days, which sort of laid that out. And there were a couple of people that they had who, were a little bit more famous to the public that they had sitting at that table. But definitely my uncle was at the right at the right side because people were wanting to do different things. People were scared to death, literally. Yep. And my uncle just kept. And they're elements that I've read about that I don't understand exactly as far as exactly where to position this, this ship. And, I don't understand it exactly, but it is. But, here we are. So we must imagine, another way. But this is what Gene Roddenberry was doing. I mean, in that particular episode, you're absolutely right. I mean, I was writing down notes, as you saw. I was like scribbling away like a wild person because, the power of doing it another way. There is another way. I mean, come on. What in the world? I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to call my family back east, and my aunt, who's still alive, I'm very curious what she would have to say about what to do, the position that Obama's in right now, and Putin and the players that are every 2 hours are, things are changing about what this
I hope
just like that. I mean, it was very similar
and we
to
hope
that.
and pray to God, and we should all be praying for this.
Yes.
Cooler heads
Yes.
prevail.
Yes.
You don't have to do this.
Yes.
I hope reason gets into these people's heads in that part of the world because it's a very volatile area.
Yes.
That to gas your people as well is just the unbelievable crime. That's what took Saddam down, and I just pray that whoever's there says, we got to stop this.
That's exactly right. I mean, and I don't know what's going to happen. I listen very, very nervously to all of this.
Yep.
Let's talk also about the idea of the sexism, the racism, the conflict resolution like we're talking about. But, all of this going on at that time,
Yes.
again, when the African Americans were literally just at that moment starting to integrate. And, what a time. What a time.
Oh, I remember getting on a train in San Antonio after boot camp. This is 1961. And we landed, and I say landed because we're always in planes, but I took a train home to Boston. and I ended up in North Carolina. And I get off the train. All right, you all get off, and now you can go to the bathroom and everything. And I got off, and all us Air Force guys in uniform, we walk over, and there's the restroom. And we went in. I went in. I'm saying, wow, this is maybe... we used to say a Negro neighborhood because I'm in this room with all these black men, and they're looking at me with their hands on their hips saying, what are you doing in here, white boy?
Exactly.
Because I was in the wrong restroom.
Wow.
I was in black only.
Yeah.
I walked out and I got
Or
really
Negro
nervous.
only,
Yeah,
like you
Negro
say.
only. Like I
Negro
said, colored.
only.
No, use the word colored.
Did they in
colored
North
only.
Carolina?
And then the white guys on the other side were looking at me coming out the door, and they were like saying, what you doing in there? And I went into the right restroom, and that's a personal experience that happened to me in 1960.
my
I think it was
gosh.
61.
Well, I had experiences too as a little girl in Chicago that are just sort of shocking. And then I lived in Africa when I was
Johannesburg.
I lived in
South
Johannesburg,
Africa.
and I lived in Maseru, Lesotho when Nelson Mandela was actually still in prison.
Oh, wow.
And apartheid was still in full force, and we were like the United Nations every day, sitting down, or in the evening sitting down and talking about what experiences went on with all of us here and there and everything. And it's there was really no easy fix. I mean, there was such a complicated dynamic there with about 50 different tribes of Africans there, and then the Europeans coming in and everything. So, but I will tell you that I had friends come from South Africa to visit me in Los Angeles, California, which is a pretty liberal land, and saying, whoa, you guys are more prejudiced than we are.
Really?
Just saying. Yeah, because what it is there's this underlying non-acceptance that is still alive, and I do not say well, but it is still happening. The acceptance of all of us being, brother and sister. In Europe, like in England, it's not so much that way. I know some of my black comrades, I'll just say, are there, and they, they don't feel it at all. They just do whatever they do. And here they feel it. Here, like Obama was saying, how many of the black men get into an elevator and have somebody tighten their purse, or when I walk by a door, close lock the door. I say to my friends, okay, come on, you don't have that. They're like, yeah, son, every day. I just think, well, so we've got some work to do. We've got some work to do, people.
The economy needs to be better, and the black people need to be brought more into this economy in jobs. And we know from the black community that I know my brother's in touch with, he's an attorney up in Boston, that we need, and Boston's trying to do a better job at it, and it's trying to be inclusive now and getting these people to be in the workforce.
Yeah,
it's
all,
a biggie.
there's so many elements, and the incarceration rate and all that stuff. So my engineer tells me we have about 5 minutes to wrap this up, and I want to, the last thing, whatever you want to talk about, because we have like 2-3 minutes before we actually say our goodbyes, but I did want to talk a little bit about your book, and I know you're going to talk much more about it when you go into Get Behind the Mic with Tony, but I want to have you chat about it a little bit, just your experience with writing it and
self-publishing.
And all that.
Yes, I self-published. Anyway, which my wife helped me immensely in the editing process. Editing is so hard on a book. You're trying to refrain from too many things that seem petty, and you want to keep keep the flow going, and chronologically you want to start with not jump around. I've read some other books and people jump around too much. And so I tried to keep the flow from, when I wanted to be an actor as a young man, and then to now doing many things, including acting. And it's a good book, I feel, for everyone that wanted to know what it was like in the 60s and 70s and even into the 80s, where I became a still photographer and I did a lot of stars photographs and stuff, and I was still acting. But what it is also, it's about a life of always seeking better things without trying to be too materialistic and wanting to express oneself. And an actor who buys this would be very well, I think he'd be very well educated in some of the things that came down during that time, if they want to know about how the acting styles were embellished at that time. There's very many different acting styles, and today one is used primarily, which thank God I started to use that one, and now that's the one they mostly use.
Excellent.
And there were so many styles coming in. You know, you had the English style, you had the American formal style from theater.
Right,
and television was quick, come on, shoot this right now, you know.
Yes, and not a lot of preparation.
Yeah, so that's all in there, and pictures, you know.
Cool. And one thing that you say in this, and we have probably like 90 seconds to kind of quickly say it, but I want you to really, really briefly tell me how you got the Captain Pike role.
Okay.
Really fast.
I was in a theater, and I was actually doing sound effects. And I played one small role where I didn't even talk. I knew that this was a major production, and I got into it where, well, you have to do sound for a while, and maybe you'll do a walk-on and every. Well, the one night that all of a sudden the lead actor was doing Gunsmoke out in the desert somewhere, and he couldn't come back. So they said, well, you have the understudy do the lead role tonight. And the guy was sick, deathly sick.
Gosh.
So here's the theater, sold out, the Gallery Theater, it's on Santa Monica Boulevard, and 250 people in the house, sold out, and they said, oh, they called everybody in 4 p.m. and said, well, it looks like we might have to cancel the show, blah, blah, blah. And I said, our understudy's sick, and so we just want to know that, you know, you won't have to come back tonight. And I went, wait a minute, I know the lines. And I raised my hand, and they said, who's this guy? And they said, he's the sound effects guy. And I said, but I know everybody's line. Are you kidding me? Yeah, because I have to know when the doors open and the phone rings and all this. I have to know everybody's line. And they said, well, prove it. Line 3 and scene 7. Okay, and I said it. And what's the next line in scene 3? Line 4. And I said it. And I go, damn, he knows the lines.
Oh
okay,
my gosh.
Put the wardrobe on him. So they went and got the wardrobe. They put it on me. I'm 24 years old, 22 years old. They put the wardrobe. The lead is 35 years old. And they put it on. They said, do you think he could do it? They're looking at each other, the money man and the producer. And you know, it's like Zero Mostel and the producers, right? Yeah, we'll throw him out there. We'll make an apology when we put him up on stage. They made an apology. I'm sorry, we have this actor, Sean Kenney. He's going to play this role. And there was a scout from Paramount in the audience. And she came backstage and she said, I liked what you did. You got a standing ovation. I said, well, I knew all the lines. That's probably why they gave it to me. and they apologized in the beginning, right? So sure enough, she said, if I take you to Paramount and meet this man, Gene Roddenberry, who's he? Oh, he's a gentleman over there at Paramount. Will you sign with me as a client? Because she was a manager.
Oh my God!
But she was also scouting for Paramount.
Perfect.
I said, of course. You know, like I didn't even have an agent.
So you walked in the door. You sat in the chair.
I sat in the chair, and he walked around me, kept looking at my picture and looking at me from the side and the side. He says, you know, you resemble an actor that we wanted to use in this show so much. It's just uncanny. And he said, do you have any problem with latex on your face? No, I'm fine. And they said, okay. And they said, how about sitting in a box for a few hours? A box? Well, they got to put you in a wheelchair that's going to have a box around it, and you got to sit in there. Do you have any bladder problems? So this stuff went on and on. And, you're claustrophobic because the door, if you look at the chair, it has no door on it. I had to jump out of it. So what happened is I would get in there, and they would just give me all sorts of, good reports of saying, wow, man, you pulled it off.
It was one of those things, like just
serendipitous.
One of those Hollywood serendipitous stories. If you weren't there and you didn't know the lines, and there wouldn't have been the Captain Pike and all the other
Captain
things
Pike wouldn't have come about. They would have canceled.
Oh my God, Sean! So Sean Kenney, thank you so much for being
Sonny.
my guest.
You are so sunny.
Oh, thank you.
You are great. She's great.
Captain Pike, Found Alive. I want to thank also Drew Dellinger for sharing this amazing story, and remind you guys to get the book when it comes out, The Mountaintop Vision, MLK's Cosmology of Connection. Nichelle Nichols telling her story, and our friend Don Marshall, who was going to call in, but we'll get to him later, and Marianne Williamson with this book, Imagine, and the beautiful 17-year-old what's his name again? I'm forgetting. David Archuleta.
David
yeah,
Archuleta,
for
what
bringing
a
us
song.
that.
What a rendition of that song.
So,
and our
guys,
John is a singer, so he knows how good that
yes,
was.
our
right?
our engineer. So he's going to be
he
singing
knows.
next week, maybe.
And
So,
you
like,
have the most beautiful voice.
Thank you.
And
We'll
you
all
have
be
to,
singing.
you have
We'll
to
be
sing
singing.
it one night when you get the tag and get off of it.
That's
Why
it.
don't you do it?
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Imagine
so
there's no
until
country.
Then, oh yeah.
I couldn't reach the third octave. I came to Hollywood to be a singer. I couldn't reach the third octave.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I had to settle with being an actor.
There you go, and we're glad you did. And we're
Okay.
going to go out to Dancing in the Streets,
Da-da.
which was written
Da-da.
in the 60s and was an anthem for everyone in that movement. Taking
Joyous.
it to the streets.
Joyous.
Use your vote, use your voice, use your body. Get going. Dance in the streets, people. Until next time, this is Sunny Chayes.